So I went ahead and used the driver folder that I transferred over from the 500 gig drive to the new SSD drive to install a driver, and instead of actually looking in a specific folder, I literally just did this. Right click, update driver, browse my computer, and you see that it says drive E. It doesn't have any other path. It's just drive E, which drive E, if you look, I'll show you, drive E is the, oh, I only have to close this. I'll show you. Drive E is the external drive. Just the standalone external drive. I could probably use drive C now too to do it, but instead I'm going to use drive E. So let's go back to that. Right click it, update driver, browse my computer, drive E. Let's try drive C and see what happens. Just drive C by itself. See if it installs. Because I copied the driver folder from E to C, so it should work. So I'll come back. Windows was unable to install the Ethernet controller. So let's go back. Of course, my phone battery's getting dead. Been using it all day. Let's go back to E and click on E, and we'll just click OK. Click Next, and we'll wait. Now, theoretically, and it took several minutes to find it. This is best way to do it besides going online. But if you don't have any drivers for wireless connectivity or LAN port connectivity, then you have to do it this way. Oh, see, Windows has successfully updated your driver software. So that is pretty much how you install drivers to begin with a fresh operating system on a brand new hard drive, SSD or otherwise. In a new installation, you take the drivers from the old hard drive or from the internet, of course. Now, if I didn't have the hard drive to pull the drivers from, I would go on my computer, my home computer, my tower, and I would use a USB drive, and I would go to the Toshiba website for this model, download all the drivers from their downloads page, downloads and drivers page, put them on the thumb drive, bring the thumb drive over to the laptop, and then start transferring the data that way and installing drivers that way. So as you can see, the USB 3.0 controller has been installed. The driver has been installed. Even though down here it says device driver software was not installed correctly, it says here Windows has finished installing the driver software for this device. The system needs to be restarted. Once it's restarted, then we shouldn't have a problem with any of the drivers working. There may be an issue with one or two of them that are called unknown drivers. Maybe even the motherboard chipset drivers we might have to reinstall from the website. But other than that, so far so good. So now all of the drivers are installed. There were two that were called unknown drivers. I went ahead and ran the driver search for the unknown drivers on the 500 gig drive. I pulled them from here and they automatically installed. One was the Toshiba hard drive sensor software driver, and then one was the USB 3.0 software driver. Now, the USB 3.0 software driver was already installed, but there was an added component to it. I'm not really sure what that added component was, but in fact it was an unknown driver to begin with, and then as I went ahead and ran the check, it came back and said USB 3.0 Reneus whatever hard drive, or USB controller is installed successfully. So now that I have all these installed successfully, I'm going to restart the computer and see what happens. So I'll be right back with you. So as you can see, my wireless connection here in the house has been detected by the system. Okay, so we have the wireless system here, and we're connected to my network. Got great connectivity, and we go over here and we go to all programs, and we go to Windows Update. Now we're going to go ahead and check for updates, and it's going to come back and say, yeah, got some updates to install. Now, I have not activated this copy of Windows yet, so this installation has to be activated before the full measure of downloads and updates from Microsoft can be completed. So let's see what happens here. For some reason it disconnected. Sometimes it's a lengthy process checking for updates. I'll be right back. Now, as you can see, after doing a lengthy check on Windows Update website for drivers, well, not just drivers, but just updates, 141 important updates and 2 optional. Those 2 optional are, in my opinion, required. There's a Logitech, which I guess that's not required unless you have a Logitech mouse, which I do. I have one of those fancy $65, you know, laptop size. It's actually pretty big, you know, in the palm of my hand. But it's super thin. Really nice. I'm really into kind of gear stuff. So anyway, driver for that, and then Windows Update for Windows 7 64-bit. So we click both, and then you go down here and you click OK. Come back to the 141, and you always want to click on that because some of these drivers are not checkmarked. There's 1 or 2 in here. See, such as that one. It's an update, and you want that. So you click that right there and click OK. I'm all for getting the updates from Microsoft. If you're going to use Windows, you need to have your operating system fully updated, in my opinion. I try to go somewhat legitimate. Okay, install drivers. Now you're going to get this confirmation that says, do you really want to do that? I accept the license agreement, click finish, and it will begin its installation. It's about 473 megabytes worth of data. And then, see, it starts by itself. Now, over a wireless network, I have a pretty fast wireless connection. About 50 meg download is what I get maximum. But that's the Comcast, that's them trying to sell you, you know, your package. The maximum download speed that I've ever seen is like around 4 megs per second. That's really fast, actually. Even though I have that 50 meg download, that's really not designed for like downloading updates. It's more like for a sustained data streaming, like, you know, Netflix, cable, surfing the web, doing all that business. So that 50 megs is sort of a bandwidth. It's not necessarily straight through throughput. So anyway, we're going to come back to this in a little while. And in the meantime, I think I'll go ahead and post these videos on YouTube.